Did Israel commit genocide in Gaza? The recent report released by United Nations Commission is pointing toward it. And if it indeed is true, it would mean that the problem for the Israeli leadership will be humongous in the coming years. Especially when we talk about the entire chain of leadership, it traces all the way back to Benjamin Netanyahu. So, to what extent he was responsible or his top leaders were responsible, this is something that will become a matter of investigation. Now, let us try to understand this entire report and what it is pointing toward in more detail. So first of all, to give you a background of this entire topic, recently United Nation Commission on Human Rights has released a report in the month of June 2026. In this particular report, it has accused Israel of targeting Palestinian children. In this report, it also has said that based on the data that we have collected from the local surveyor, local journalist and all, there is a pattern that indicates that Israel has targeted these children with carrying out genocide, with eliminating these children. And the finding may influence legal proceedings that can be carried out in the International Criminal Court or as well as in the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Now, obviously, Israel has clearly rejected this particular report. Now, let's try to understand about the commission which has come up with the report. So this is an independent commission which was established in year 2021. This commission was specifically focused on the occupied Palestinian territory and Israel to look into and analyze whether any human right violation, war crime is being committed or not. The objective of this particular mission was also to submit annual report to have a better understanding of the crisis unfolding in this region. Currently, interestingly, the chairman of this particular committee is Justice S. Muralidhar from India, from Odisha, and apart from that, member from other countries such as Florence Mumba from Zambia and Chris Sidoti also are part of this commission. So, what is the main finding of this commission? The commission states that based on the forensic data which they have collected, children seem to be allegedly targeted directly by the Israeli Defense Forces, especially along the yellow line. Yellow line is basically the effective border along the Gaza Strip. Air strikes were carried out in the populated areas where medical evidences clearly point toward the pattern of killing the children by a single sniper shot or even carrying out this attack by drones as such. The pattern which has emerged is clearly pointing toward the killing with a genocidal intent to completely eradicate an entire generation of Palestinians, children, and Gazan children and such. Also, report clearly established that children are not just any human being; they are central to the continuity of Palestinian population. Imagine who will make the next population, next generation of the Gaza. It is those children who will then reproduce more children. So killing of children basically also leads to a threat of Palestinian population being discontinued or further reducing in the number as such in the future. Violation against children report clearly establishes that intentional killing was carried out. This is clearly because of the single shot wound found on the body of the children. Not only that, when the children were detained by Israeli Defense Forces, security forces, they had clear evidence of torture against them. Sexual violence allegations were also made as per the report, and violence against even minor children were carried out. This is what report state. They also say that because of such action taken by Israeli Defense Forces, children through their entire life might face psychological and physical trauma, which would be difficult to heal. Now, at the same time, report alleges that Israel not only had killed individuals, they also have attacked the civilian infrastructure, especially those civilian infrastructure which are very vital for saving the life of people. For example, the pediatric hospital where children are treated, they have been closed due to the air strikes. The school and orphanages which largely host children in the time of crisis, they also have been affected due to the air strike carried against them. A large area with infrastructure has been destroyed, and not only that, even many UN organizations who want to participate in providing humanitarian aid to this area, the access to this area has been cut off. All of these conditions, if you look collectively, is believed to have created such condition which have and would in the future harm the survival of children and such. Now, based on this entire finding, what are the recommendation commissions have given? So first commission has given. Now, first of all, it has stated Israel that it should halt all the military operations affecting civilian. Because when you talk about military operation, here the target should be target should be the security forces, or we can say Hamas terrorists or soldiers as such. Targeting civilian infrastructure cannot be justified even under the pretext of war. Second, commission also says that the bodies of children who were killed in the captivity, they should be returned back to their parents and families. Plus, independent investigation should be carried out to ensure that anyone who has participated in such kind of genocide, war crime should be penalized and be allowed to face the justice system. And a special judicial mechanism should be created to ensure that the justice is met to these children's. Increased humanitarian protection is something which this commission has argued in the favor of in the Gaza area. Now, as soon as the report comes, Israel's response was of rejecting it. Not only they rejected it, but also said that such reports are defamatory in nature as it presents a wrong and twisted fact. They also have denied any allegation of genocide conducted by them, and they have defended the military action, saying that it is important to ensure that security of the Israel is not threatened. Any threat from across the border of Gaza should be eliminated, and any action that Israeli defense forces, security forces have taken, it was taken with the purpose of self-defense as such. Not only that, Israel also have taken a strong view of this report, saying that it is an attempt to overall defame the state of Israel and its government. Apart from that, if you look at the genocide under international law, what is basically the definition of genocide under international law? This term is defined under Article 2 of UN Genocide Convention, and there are several actions which can be qualified as genocide. First, killing members of any protected group. Second is serious bodily or mental harm carried out on against certain groups. Destructive living conditions where a particular group is subjected to, or preventing births as well as transferring children from any particular area. All of these can be termed as genocide. Now, once a particular action is qualified as genocide, there are international legal proceedings that can be carried against it. For example, the report says that in this case, documentary evidence play a very important role, and when such matters are referred to the International Court of Justice or to the International Criminal Court for the investigation purposes, then all the officers who were involved in the survey report and all people who are behind submission of this report, they are called upon, their testimony is recorded, and based on that, proceedings further is carried out. Intent behind any such act remains key issue here, because many experts argue that even due to the Israeli airstrike or due to Israeli drone strike, if children are killed, whether the killing of children was the main intent of the Israeli state, that unless and until you get clarification on that, you cannot term it as genocide. Otherwise, we can simply call it as a war or a collateral damage during the war as such. It is finally the courts who will decide what the final outcome. Now, if you look at some of the legal expert views on this matter, they have clearly stated that evidence gathered and collected by this particular commission strengthens the investigation. It provides fertile ground for ICC and ICJ to take stern action. And the problem only is that intent will be difficult to prove, whether killing was carried out with the intent of killing children or to destroy the entire generation of Palestine. Higher legal threshold for defining any act as a war crime requires a much more higher extent of threshold, and genocide basically, and every war crime, even though it is being conducted in the enemy territory, does not automatically qualifies as genocide as such. We have to make a distinction between war crime and genocide. So proving Israel's military action as genocidal action become quite complex in the legal term, and it also commands responsibility that becomes very, very important as such. Now, we have several other president also. For example, we have seen the case of Sudan. The president of Sudan was charged with war crimes and genocide. Before also, in the Bosnian crisis of early 90s, we have seen the leaders being charged with war crime and genocide as such. Also, in the case of Myanmar, we see that the action taken by the state of Myanmar against the Rohingya minority to some extent qualify as a genocide, because the target was based on the ethnic affiliation. Now, in this case, the Palestine question becomes quite difficult because it is not very similar to the three cases that we have discussed before. Now, what are the implications? So, Commission has urged that at least all those countries who are engaged in trading weapons and arms with Israel, they should stop doing that, because these arms and weapons are being used to eliminate children in Gaza. Not only that, countries should apply possible sanctions against Israel to ensure that Israel does not get away with the action it has or the crime that it has committed in the Gaza. ICC members, that is International Criminal Court, we have total 125 members roughly, except US and India. Now they will be more, we can say they will be more pressurized to enforce the warrant. If ICC now has issued warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu, the president of Israel, the prime minister of Israel, so that's why if he land in any of the countries who are member of ICC, he should be legally arrested and detained. Now, India will not have to face that problem because it is not party to the Rome Statute that has established International Criminal Code. And on the other hand, it also highlights the accountability challenges that Israeli state itself would face. And if the top leader, including Prime Minister, is found to be guilty of these crimes, then the punishment has to be given to it. So this is something we have to wait, watch, and see that how this entire future unfold. But this is all about the report published by United Nations Human Rights Council, UNHRC. That's for this particular video. Thank you.